All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Workbench. Excited to be joined by my friend here, Nick, who has his own podcast, Nickonomics, as well as a holding company where he buys, owns, and sells a variety of companies across different industries. So, really excited to dive into his, background running everything from a healthcare company to an RV park to a tree trimming company. I think there's a lot of similarities between these businesses, but they're also like super different at the same time. So, really interesting perspective on a lot of folks we have on. They just do. So you're kind of a man of many hats in that sense, Nick. So thanks for coming on
It's
today.
it's called ADHD, Brian.
Okay.
And if your listeners want to look it up, it's a real thing.
Yeah, no, I've heard about it. I think, so yeah, Nick, I mean, let's, not to do the, the corny opener, but tell us a little bit about your background and what got you here. And then I want to dive into these different businesses you're running, but yeah, just give us the Nick
Okay.
101 if you can.
Yeah. So I'll hit you with the headline and then I'll go back. A couple years ago, I started selling the majority of my businesses. We were doing $30 million a year, and just decided it was time at the time in the market. So we pared back a lot of things, and I started getting into social media because I was curious what was going on, and here's where we are. But before I got to that size of a business, which honestly sounds like a lot when I say it, but when I think about it, it doesn't feel that crazy, if that makes sense.
That's a big
I don't know.
number though. 30, I don't think many people have seen 30 million in any financial sense ever.
Yeah, it's weird. It sounds like a lot, but you know yourself so well, and you're like, wasn't really 30 million. Anyways, I'm not a hustler. I think there's a lot of people who are hustlers. It's like since day one, they were finding golf balls on the side of the road and reselling them. That's Chris Kerner, my best friend and business partner. He's like always trying to flip stuff, right? And then I think there's the other end of the spectrum of entrepreneurs who are like, I want autonomy and I want freedom, and I think I know how to do this better, but I want to be more calculated about it, and I want to take my time and try to figure out the best way to get into it. I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't want to take my time to get into it, but I was never a hustler. So luckily I had a wife who was like, pump the brakes. We're not getting into any of this stuff. You need to go get a job. You need to get a job.
A what?
So as much as I didn't want to, after I graduated college, I was like, fine, I'll get a job, but I'm going to learn, and eventually I'll do my own thing. And I'm so grateful that I got my own job.
What was your first job?
Healthcare. I started working in healthcare. I worked for an organization that was growing at the time, and they needed leaders effectively. So the way that they would grow is they would go into a new geographic location, and they needed, call it a practice manager, practice administrator. They called them CEOs because they were running the P&L of that local business. But effectively, I had like 6 months of quote unquote work experience. I was an analyst at this small firm, and they were growing so fast that they did the pulse test. You ever done the pulse test? Yeah, this is the pulse test. Okay, you're alive. Yep. You're a human being. You qualify. So they needed people, and I got thrown into an opportunity that I had no business being in. And I was really successful, and I ultimately flew too close to the sun and then got fired. And what I learned from that experience was like, looking back, I got to make multi-million-dollar mistakes on somebody else's dime. I didn't make multi-million-dollar mistakes on my own dime, which I'm very grateful for. So I took that experience, and eventually I bought my first company, which was a medical practice management company. I then started a home health and hospice company from scratch, grew both of those companies, added on companies as we grew, and then started investing on the side in some other things. Chris and I started a tree trimming business. We had a business that was selling crypto miners. We sold like literally Bitcoin mining hardware to people, RV parks. We have a healthcare startup that we've invested in. And a couple of years ago, I was like, you know what? The timing seems right in the market. So I'm going to sell the majority of my holdings in these other companies and just try to reevaluate like what I want to be when I grow up. What do I want to do next? And that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half.
I think a common refrain you hear in the world of entrepreneurs, although it's often shirked in practice, is like get really good at one thing, focus on one skill set, focus on one industry, become, like my friend Austin, the land clearing guy, like tie the stump guy, become the stump, grinding guy, become the RV park guy. Like there's a sense that focus is good. And I face it, I run one software company, but every day I'm faced with new exciting opportunities. You seem to go in the opposite direction. You're like, no, I'm going to do an RV park, which from the outside seems to have zero relation to a home and hospice care business. Like, how do you think about the idea of being from the outside looking in, maybe spread thin across all of these businesses that are seemingly completely different?
I'm going to give you my honest opinion. It's stupid. It really is stupid. So I I'll reference Chris a lot because Chris and I are best friends, but we're also like polar opposites in many
Mm-hmm.
ways. I focused on healthcare, and healthcare was the thing that I got a job in and then decided to jump into. And when I won with healthcare, air quotes, won with healthcare, I then had disposable income to invest in other projects. And so I thought, well, what I'm supposed to do is diversify, right? Like, oh, we're going to start a Bitcoin mining company, or we're going to do RV parks, or all tree trimming businesses and all these other things. And honestly, the last like 2.5 years, in my opinion, most of that has been a mistake, because you've developed this core competency. For me, healthcare. I'm better than probably 99% of the people in the world at that core competency.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a ton of money at that core competency. It's an industry that is growing like crazy, and I want to pivot out of it. I want to do something else.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like what's the reasoning? What's the rationale behind it? And for me, I mean, ego is probably the right word, but it was like, oh, that'll be fun. Sure, we could do that in this area. So I am a big believer of get a core competency, win the game in that area of expertise, and then you have freedom to do stupid things. Like, I mean, I think it was dumb to do, but I had to get that out of my system, and it didn't bankrupt me or anything. Like, we still came out ahead, but I had to learn for myself, like, okay, even if it's not healthcare related, I've got to focus on things that are my core competency and not have shiny object syndrome.
I know so little about healthcare. Every time I have to go to the dentist or the doctor's office, I'm mad. Every experience I've had from the insurance company to the doctor to the dentist has been pretty negative. So I just try to avoid going to the doctor. If I'm
Yeah.
ever in the hospital, besides the birth of my daughter, it's usually not a good sign. That's just my two cents. So the idea of running a healthcare business or a home and hospice, it's probably one of the last things I would choose to do personally.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about it, but like, what is a home and hospice care business like? Give me the 101, because I know nothing about it, but it sounds like it was pretty lucrative.
That's a great question. Yeah. So healthcare is really broad,
Yeah,
right?
super broad.
You
Yeah.
can go get a dental cleaning, or you can go get a total knee replacement, and they're
Yeah.
both healthcare.
Right.
So
Right.
it's very broad. Basically, think of healthcare in three big buckets: elderly care, everybody in the middle, pediatrics. Okay. So pediatrics are kids. Then there's like us grown-ups, and then there's elderly care. Um, I, I focus in the elderly care space, and in elderly care, there's a whole host of things that are available to them, but we want to help people age gracefully and age in place. Home health are services offered to people, most of the time 65 and older, who are trying to get to a prior level of function. Maybe they got pneumonia, or maybe they had a fall, or maybe they broke their leg and they went to the hospital and they lost some strength, because as we get older, we tend to lose strength really quickly. And they're coming out of the hospital and now they're trying to recover and get better. We actually had nurses and physical therapists and home health aides go to the home and help those patients get better. So that's home health. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Getting better.
Okay.
Home care
Mm-hmm.
is not the skilled care. It's not like nurses and physical therapists. These are people who come and do some light cleaning, and maybe we'll help you bathe once a week. Maybe they'll just be for companionship. That is home care. Hospice is, unfortunately, you're dying, you've got a terminal diagnosis, and we want to help you exit this life gracefully. And so we're not trying to get you better. We're trying to help you exit life gracefully. Those were the three things that I had a lot of experience in. And then because it was adjacent to it, I knew how to manage medical practices. I knew how to do medical billing, medical coding, medical staffing. And so that was the first company that I bought. Was like, okay, I like the administrative portion of this because I faint at the sight of blood. And then I decided, well, I know home health and hospice. I should start one on my own as well. And so that's kind of the progression of things. Does that make sense though, of what
Yeah.
those businesses do?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, these are all things I've interacted with tangentially throughout my life. Someone's grandparent has an aide, or like, yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
And to me, those are, as an entrepreneur, those are not, I guess those are all private businesses, right? In my head, it's like, doesn't the hospital send out someone to their house? But you can just go create a business and a website, and you need a
Yeah.
health aide, click here to book a call. Like, you can just
Yeah. I
start
mean,
that.
there's definitely a moat. You have to get
Hmm.
licensed.
Okay.
And so there's two big distinctions. There is skilled and non-skilled. So like sending a home health aide to do bathing or light cleaning or companionship, that's home care. I don't need a clinical license. I don't need to be certified by the government in order to go do that most of the time. But in order to do hospice or home health or a skilled nursing facility or physical therapy, I have to be licensed. I have to have an actual clinical license, but also a license with the government. So there's a moat there, but anybody can do it. Like anybody can start one of those businesses. It's just, it takes time and money and energy to get them started up. And for me, I grew up in a household. My twin sister was severely developmentally delayed. And so we always had clinicians coming in and out of the house. Like I knew from an early age the value of healthcare in the home. I also knew that I would faint at the sight of blood. So I was like, well, I can't be a clinician, but I kind of understand the business side of things.
Yeah.
So seems like a really good opportunity.
Well, that's a really good insight about your twin sister, because now for me, I'm so unfamiliar with that space, but you grew up around it and you saw what it was and you saw how it worked and you saw what it was like for them to come into the house and what the great ones were like and what the bad ones were like. So that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
that you then go into that space because you were familiar with it and you were comfortable with it. Whereas for me, that's something that I've just had like such little exposure to personally.
totally.
From starting that, like, how did did that business you start from scratch, or that's when you bought?
So the hospice I started from scratch. Hold on a second. I broke up. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Am I lagging? Bueller?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You're lagging.
Okay.
So let's just give it a second to catch up.
Okay, hold on. Let me close some things out just in case. I'm closing some windows so that just in case it's slowing it down. Sorry.
Nick, do you
Okay.
read me?
You've been good this whole time. I think it's my end, which I'm trying to figure out. Okay. Am I okay right now?
Everything you say is being said twice, which is interesting. You say it once,
Being
and then like
said
a second later,
twice.
it gets said again.
All right, I'm gonna hop out and hop back in. So be right back. You leave a recording. I'll just be right back. Okay, my speed test says I'm running blazingly fast. So
I can't hear you.
you can't hear me?
No, I can. There you go.
Okay. My speed test says I'm running blazingly fast. I hope that works. All right. Yeah, so I actually started the hospice from scratch, and about a year in, I bought a home health and combined it and started a home care with it at the same time because they're just intertwined. There's a lot of crossover between those two types of businesses. I had also partnered with my brother-in-law who owns a skilled nursing facility company. So if you think of like the progression of a patient from a hospital, they discharge usually to a skilled nursing facility and then they'll discharge home. And so it's a very good relationship as a home health and hospice provider to have with a skilled nursing facility company. So I partnered with them to launch that business.
And then I probably don't want to give numbers. Maybe you want to give numbers, up to you, but can you talk about the exit there? Everyone's familiar with, oh, the hot new tech company got purchased or whatever. You sold your real estate portfolio. What's the M&A market look like for these healthcare businesses?
Yes, I will tell you about it. I can't tell you exact numbers, but I will give you like a broad overview. So the M&A market is very strong for these types of businesses for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is the demographic shift. Our population is aging like crazy. So there's this tidal wave of baby boomers who are aging into this population that we're taking care of. And because of that, there's just going to be a ton of growth for these types of businesses.
And
And
they have
people,
money, apparently. The silver tsunami. The boomers have a lot of wealth too. So
they do have a lot of wealth.
yeah.
So the home care, the non-skilled side is booming, but the skilled side is paid for by the government for the most part. It's
Mm.
Medicare, right? And so people look at that who are investing and are like, oh, that's going to be steady, right? The government, we can count on the government contracts. Yes, the government's a pain, but there's like this steady source of revenue. So you've got government payer, aging population. It's a very, very good investment thesis for many people. For the most part, I would say they trade anywhere between 0.5 and 1.5 times top line revenue. and anywhere between 3 to 6 times EBITDA, depending on the size. So my business, we got to $12 million in top line revenue, and we're growing very fast. And we exited to a publicly traded company who was in the market, and that business has continued to do really, really well, which I'm excited about. But yeah, the M&A market is really strong in that space.
Let's talk a little bit about partnerships. You've mentioned Chris Corner a few times now. Sounds like a great partner of yours. For me, before I started Lead Truffle, I was like, I'm not going to start this business without the right technical co-founder, because it's so hard to do SaaS with a great technical co-founder. And it's, in my opinion, almost impossible to do with an outsourced dev shop and paying by the hour, or someone who just codes or isn't super bought in, or just is a coder, whatever. I was not doing it without the right partner. Thankfully, I found Aaron. Well, I knew Aaron, and we teamed up. And it's just been the reason Lead Truffle has had the small amount of success we've had in the 6 months since we've launched, and we are where we are.
Don't you dare minimize your success.
Yeah, we've had we haven't exited quite yet. We're just getting started, but things are going well for the first 6 months. We'll leave it at that. Would not be possible without the right partner. So for Chris specifically, who I think people listening may be familiar with, I know he's pretty he has a public profile and has a podcast and everything. Like, how do you partner with Chris? What's the value of partnership for you, and how do you think about that in your entrepreneurial endeavors?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. I think that partnerships are the right thing for 99.9% of entrepreneurs. I think there's a rare few entrepreneurs who are truly just like, I'm going to do it by myself forever. I think most of us need partners for many reasons, but the way I look at finding partners is, first and foremost, do I trust them? So I'm not necessarily looking for fit first and foremost. I'm looking for whether or not like I can trust them. For Chris and I, obviously, we've known each other a long time. We've had instances, this is not made up, where he's gone into surgery. He had his kidney removed. He's gone into surgery, and he called me beforehand. He's like, I don't think anything's going to happen, but if it does, are you into crypto at all?
Yeah, I have some Bitcoin.
Okay. He's like, here's my wallet address and here are my keys. Right. So he's like, just make sure that like stuff gets taken care of.
Yeah.
And the same has been true on the flip side, right? So like we trust each other implicitly. And I think that's incredibly important in any partnership, because you are going to have disagreements. You are going to have different point of views. And if you don't trust that the other person has your best interest at heart, like if I don't trust that Brian actually cares about me, then our disagreements are going to turn into full blown wars, because I'm going to start being like, well, yeah, Brian is greedy. What a freaking douche. I can't believe he would make that decision. He must hate me, right? Like you just start building these stories in place if you don't have that foundation layer of trust. So for me, that's the first and most important thing. The second most important thing, and this is a real framework, I'm not making this up on the fly. The second most important thing for me is diversity. I'm not talking about like DEI, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm talking about difference of skill set, difference of experience, different perspective, different temperament. You need somebody who's the yin to your yang, right? Like if you aren't somebody who goes and pushes on the marketing side, you need somebody to partner with who does, right? And if you push on the marketing side, you need somebody to like operationalize things. Like you need to find somebody who complements you and is not a carbon copy of you, because usually those types of partnerships are very difficult. The third thing I look for is humility. If you can't admit you're wrong, like I don't want to be partnered with you. We're all going to be wrong at some point. And if you can't like sit and take feedback, then no, thank you. Like life's too short. I don't want to be partnered with somebody like that. And then we have to have good communication. That's, in my opinion, the foundation of any partnerships. Like you have to be able to communicate difficult things in the moment. And trust is really a foundation for good communication. Here's one of my favorites. There's two more. Shared goals. So I once had a partnership. I've had 21 partners in the last 5 years. So I've been around.
Yeah.
Been around more than Adam Newman in a room full of bankers.
Yeah.
But I once had a partnership with guys. They were great. We were friends. I trusted them. They were honest. They had integrity. But it fell apart because we had different goals. It was the home health and hospice. I wanted to grow a massive home health and hospice. I wanted to have it in multiple states, multiple locations. I had a whole ethos for it. And I built it that way. So we got to $12 million in revenue, Brian, but we weren't making money. And it was because I optimized for growth. I optimized to build the team. They wanted immediate cash flows. And we never had that discussion up front. And so the rub got stronger and stronger and stronger over time as like it was growing. And it was unfortunately the wrong time to sell. I wish we hadn't sold that. It would have been much better for us if we had held it for longer. But that partnership fell apart because we just had different goals. We didn't hate each other. We weren't bad. Just different goals. And then the last one I will say, this isn't necessarily a tenet, but equity splits. Never enter a freaking partnership thinking, oh, we'll figure it out. Oh, Brian's a good guy. I'm a good guy. We'll figure out equity. Decide it up front. Like be very clear up front.
D50, 5149. Do you have a quick heuristic on that?
It all depends on your personality type. So like Chris and I have gone through some stuff over the last year. I'm a 50-50 guy. That's just how I am. I feel weird if it's not 50-50. It's probably my own insecurity or projection. Chris is not a 50-50 guy. Chris is like, well, that doesn't make sense. I contributed over here. I should have an outsized portion on this piece. And I just think you need to figure out like where you're going to be okay. Some people are like the all for one for all. And some people are like, no, this should be more dogmatic in the way that we approach allocating equity. But yeah, I'm very 50-50.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think it's easy to get, because then you start getting into the scoreboard thing where it's like, and I think then you can build resentment because it's like, well, you have 51, but this week I put in 80% of the effort because you were sick. And now it's like, I'm resentful that you have more equity. So I find it hard unless it's like so clearly dramatic, the difference in contribution, in which case then it's like, why are you even equal partners ever? Anyways, that 50-50 makes sense. Unless you maybe have something established and you're bringing someone in, I think that makes more sense. But if you're both starting from scratch, it's hard for me to see an argument for not doing 50-50.
Well, this is a quick story. So Chris and I met as missionaries in Hungary, and I trained him. So he was a new missionary. I'd been there a while, and I was teaching him the language, teaching him the ropes. Like, how do you go door to door selling God? I'll teach you, Chris. And I've always been sort of like, what's mine is yours. So anything I bought, any food I got is shared. Like, oh, Chris, you want some of this? Oh, cool. You want a tie? Whatever. One day we were out in the country, and we saw this fruit stand, and Chris freaking loves fruit. He loves fruit more than he loves candy. He's like, when I was a kid, I used to ride home on my bicycle from the store and I'd have one bag of fruit and one bag of candy. That's how much he loves fruit. And there was this big watermelon. And so he goes and he buys the watermelon. And we're walking to the bus stop. And I say to him, man, I can't wait to have that watermelon. It looks so good. And Chris goes, what do you mean? This is my watermelon. And I'm like, what? Right? And I'm pissed because I'm like, what do you mean? I gave you everything and you're going to like keep your watermelon. And Chris is like, well, I never asked you to do that. Like, I'm grateful that you shared all that stuff with me, but it's like you co-opted me into this agreement without any clarity on the front end. And now you just expect to have part of this watermelon. That's not fair either. And it's because we didn't communicate up front, right? Like, it's not bad or good to be one way or the other, but it gets exacerbated when you don't communicate up front. Like, okay, what are our shared values? And that's what I would say to anybody listening is like, really think about, is this person you're getting into business with, which one are they like? And just have communication up front so that you avoid conflict on the back end.
For you and Chris, what are some of the businesses that you guys started or investments you made? I think it'd be interesting to hear. You guys are two relatively known folks out in the ethos. Like, what are some of the cool things you've done together?
We had a crypto mining company that sold crypto hardware for people who were mining Bitcoin, and that business was nuts. We launched that business in October of 2022. Was it 2022? 2021. And in the first 3 months, it did $10 million in top line revenue and 1.5 million or something in that ballpark of bottom line. Yeah. That was my eyes too. And then it proceeded to be a dog for the next 3 years, and we shut it down. But it was a moment in time where we were able to take advantage of a market pop. And that was crypto is just crazy in and of itself. So that was a business that we had. Chris has always he's a savant when it comes to marketing. So he loves home services. And he was like, I think we should start a tree trimming business. I helped this guy start a tree trimming business a while ago. What do you think? And I was like, okay. I mean, if you want to go the marketing angle, I'm game. And so we found an operator for it and we launched this tree trimming business in Dallas. I can walk you through like how we chose Dallas and all that stuff. But that's a business. It's not a massive business. Probably, I'm trying to think. Top line, high six figures, maybe seven figures a year, but it's there. It's consistent. It's profitable. We had a couple of RV parks that we actually sold in the beginning of this year. That Chris's Twitter handle is MHP guy, so it was like, of course, let's buy some mobile home park and RV parks. So we held those for a little while, but really quickly realized like neither one of us are paying attention to this, so we should probably get out of that space. We have a healthcare tech startup that we invested in, which helps healthcare organizations identify diagnoses on the front end. So we incubated that idea and launched that idea. We have a digital agency that helps home services businesses in particular acquire customers in non-traditional ways using non-traditional marketing funnels. And that's all I can think of at the moment.
Wow, that's a lot. What's the agency? With a lot of folks listening run home services, maybe they'll need some help.
Yeah, it's called Repeat Leads. It's something that Chris and I have talked about for a long time. Home services, I'm going to say stuff to you that you already know, and you're going to be like, oh, Nick, you're way out of your depth here, which is true, which is why for a long time, I was the money behind a lot of these investments. And so we partnered with somebody who's run an agency before, but many times you're competing on the same Google LSA, Thumbtack, Angie's List, right? Like you're all going to the same places, you're doing the same things, and it becomes a speed game, which can be a differentiator, which is great. But there's also all these really underutilized marketing channels that small businesses don't necessarily think about. One of those is Reddit. As crazy as that sounds, it's actually a really good marketing channel. Facebook groups. I'm sure you've seen his name. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he has an agency.
Magazoo.
Yeah. Doing great.
Early guest on the Workbench.
Was
good
he?
Dude, yeah. Yeah, and we're working with him at Lead Truffle too, yeah. He's a young guy, but he's killing it.
Great guy, young guy. And it's like super smart thesis. Let's get into these Facebook groups and blow them up. I'm trying to think of this story. Chris has a company where he resells Buc-ee's. Have you ever heard of Buc-ee's?
Yeah, I think I saw him tweet about, he has a
called
Facebook
Texas
group?
Snacks. Yeah, it's called Texas Snacks. And they started during COVID. He just started going to the gas station, buying it and reselling it online. And one of their customer acquisition channels, he started doing this, I think 3 years ago.
They buy snacks from Buc-ee's and then sell them to people online?
Dude, this is crazy. They buy it full price, retail. And then they sell it.
Is that because people that want to try Buc-ee's snacks but don't have one near them want to try them?
Exactly. And it's not even to try. It's hey, we went to that Buc-ee's when we were driving through Texas, and now we live in Boston and there's no Buc-ee's near here, so I'm going to buy it online.
Buc-ee's doesn't sell online? They don't have any e-commerce?
They don't have any e-commerce. And they're super old school. Trust me, there's a
nice
million
little arbitrage
stories
right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And they won't sell at a wholesale discount to Texas Snacks, the company that Chris runs. So he's got to go buy it full retail. But one of the things that they did was they went and bought, I can't remember how many members it had, 100,000 maybe. They're buying now Facebook groups of Buc-ee's fans. And
awesome.
and they run the groups, and that's one of their sales channels. And they started doing that 3 years ago. Now they've got multiple channels. But Facebook groups are an underutilized channel. Probably our favorite and most illegal channel is texting. Go to a software like Outscraper, pull a bunch of text phone numbers of business owners, and then text them messages. We use that a lot for testing ideas.
Yeah.
If you've used that as your main marketing channel, that's a big risk long term. So really like that.
Yeah. I think that's how Ty, the stump guy, another Workbench guest, got started. You heard a podcast with Chris explaining that strategy and used it to verify the stump grinding market in a similar city to the one he was in, and then launched it. So yeah, full circle moment for the Workbench audience right there.
More than full circle.
Yeah.
That was Chris and I on a Holdco Bros episode that we do on Fridays, talking about the stump grinding business. And the city that Ty tested that in was Boise, Idaho, where I live.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. This is like the Avengers Infinity Stones coming together right now. We have the entire ethos of the digital marketing home service bros on the Workbench.
I'm trying to get Ty what I really want to do is get Ty to come up here for like a week and like start Monday and be like, dude, let's see if we can find a job, do a job, and get paid within the next 5 days.
And that would be good, like a little YouTube documentary short. That would be great.
So good. So he hasn't taken me up on it yet,
Yeah.
but hopefully.
Yeah, no, that's good content. Nick, in terms of what you're excited about now, obviously AI is like so frothy, kind of. Everyone's talking about AI. I run an AI software company. You've seen so much, so many different business models. Like, what are you excited about 2025 and beyond?
What am I excited? That's such a broad question, Brian. What am I
Yeah,
excited about in home services or just in general?
just in general. I mean, you've seen a lot of businesses that work. You see a lot of businesses that don't work. For someone listening, that's like, man, I want to do what Nick's doing and try different businesses. Like, what interesting new creative business models or just opportunities have you seen? You know,
Okay.
you have a good opinion. You've seen a lot of
There's
this
two
stuff.
things.
So
There's
yeah,
there's two things. I'm going to say the first one is not a business, but it's an opportunity. And then the second one will be a business. The first thing though is AI is getting so good right now
hmm
that the cost of failure is getting lower and lower. So think about it like this. 50 years ago, if I wanted to go and start a tree trimming business, what am I going to go do? I've got to go like buy equipment. I've got to go like door to door, send out mailers. Like the customer acquisition channels were basically manual. And if I failed, I'm out 100, 200, $300,000, right? And then it just slowly iterated to get cheaper and cheaper. 10 years ago, I could go and just post something on Angie's List or Thumbtack and see what hits I get, and then outsource that to a contractor who's already working, right? And the cost of failure there is exceptionally low. Now, before I even get to the place where I post about it on Thumbtack and outsource it to a contractor, which a lot of companies do, now I can go to ChatGPT and I could say, hey, look, this is my skill set. This is what I'm good at. This is what I like to do. What businesses might fit my profile? And because I might get into that tree trimming business and realize I hate this. This is stupid. This isn't my skill set. I don't like being outside, blah, blah, blah. So you can get like feedback even before you test those other ideas
right.
really quickly. So I think using AI as your own personal assistant to give you insights and to ideate with is it's a game changer as far as I'm concerned. The businesses that I'm the most excited about are anything that require human to human interaction.
Yeah.
Like this isn't even human to human interaction and I'm still excited about it, but like, okay, I'm going to wash your windows. I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to measure the windows. I'm going to count how many windows there are. I'm going to estimate the job. I'm going to bring my crew out. That's not getting automated away with AI. That's not going away. The ability to go and meet customers and talk to them and sell them and have a face to the name, I think is just going to become even more powerful.
Yeah,
So I
agreed.
love human to human services businesses.
Yeah, my loose idea thesis that I'm toying around with is like digital is going to become cheaper and cheaper. Like maybe we'll even be able to create our own movies and video games soon.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I think the inverse is that we'll see this like increase in value in real world human made things like a homemade, a hand carved dining table. I could see being more valuable 20 years from now. When you could get the machine one, but there's going to be like some status to like, no, a human carved this with their own hands, or maybe homemade food that was made by a real chef. I think things like that. And also, yes, human led, person to person jobs and work. I could see that stuff.
Experiences,
Yeah, experiences. Yep.
products, services. I totally agree. Those are going to just become more valuable.
Nick, thank you so much for coming on. For people that, want to connect with you, check out the pod, check out your businesses. What are the best places for people to connect with you?
Look for Nikonomics on Apple, YouTube, and Spotify, and Twitter. Twitter's really the best place. Co-founders Nick, or you can send me an email, nick@cofounders.com. So
Amazing, Nick.
come
Thanks
find
so
me.
much for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.